Welcome back, everybody. We got ourselves the new broken hero. Not really new. I'm just the one that's starting to try it. It's been picked a ton in competitive Dota, and it's also being played in virtually all of my pubs. So I decided to give it a try. And let me tell you guys, I suck at this hero in more ways than one.
Banana slam jam.
If you look at the top, I've literally never played this hero before, and I felt incredibly impactful at the 5 position. So I do believe the hero we are talking about, being Pugna, is predominantly a 5 position. In the past, he's been played a lot as a mid. Sometimes he can still be played as a 4, but I do believe he's most ideal as a 5 right now. So what makes Pugna so broken is we're going to talk about the laning stage first. Pugna just has really good base stats. He has 330 move speed, tied for the fastest hero in all of Dota. And his attack range, as you see here, is also 630. So his only really issue is that his base damage is kind of low, and he's kind of squishy. But because he's so fast, it's really hard to kill Pugna in lane. So when it comes to starting items, you have really good int gain, which means that if you look here, 5.2 per level, you don't really need mana for a little while. Your Nether Blast really isn't that expensive. 85 mana for 100 damage, that's pretty efficient. So my starting items are just pure right-click items. Like, giving me just a bit more damage because I attack from so far and I'm so fast that I'm going to get a lot of harassment in the laning phase. So once you get to the lane, just constantly threaten right-clicks on the opponent. Your job is to click people because you're really fast. It's really hard to lock you down. Just click, 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 click. Cast some Nether Blast, click, click, click. And effectively, you just trade really well with most 4 positions. As in this case, we're forcing him to trade with us. He actually messes up and he's going to be forced to run away. But that's pretty much Pugna's impact in the lane. You just wear and tear. 1 hit at a time. And what makes him so good is that he doesn't need boots. If you guys remember TI, we had Weaver and Monkey King as the 2 broken supports. What made them so broken, on top of like everything else about them that like got buffed, was the fact that these heroes didn't need boots. So Pugna, just like them, can wait for boots because you're just so fast. It allows you to roam around the map and check runes. It allows you to just set the tempo really high in the game. So Pugna, first off, his laning stage is really reliable. You take Nether Blast level 1. If you need to secure range creeps for your carry, you can do that. You can take Nether Ward level 2, or you do take Nether Ward level 2. It's just a really powerful ability because it forces the opponent to deal with it. It's kind of like Weaver Bugs. It's the same idea. It's like you're in the middle of an engagement and they want to hit you, but instead they're stuck hitting the ward because it does damage to them whenever they cast spells, and it also reduces the amount of spell damage that they do. Now, I've now mentioned that. Let's talk about like why Pugna is so broken in 7.31 compared to what he was before. First off, in 2 patches consecutively, they did buff the cast range of Nether Blast. Which means that the ability he uses to harass, the ability he uses to take towers, is now cast from further. So a hero that's very position-based is able to position himself better. But let's go ahead and talk about Pugna's kit real quick. Let's just take a step back and say this is why Pugna's broken. I believe any hero that is patched in a way that deals with its counters is almost always innately turning into a broken hero. So what I mean by that is Pugna, his second ability is his like really defining ability, Decrepify. The reason why it's so defining is because it makes heroes on your team do way more damage, so it like gives you synergy with a lot of magic damage burst heroes, but then it also saves your teammates from all right clicks. It's literally an E-Blade that doesn't do the initial damage. So what this means is that Pugna saves his teammates from right clicks and thus makes them take more damage from spells. So the only way theoretically to deal with Pugna for a long time is to have enough magic damage or spell damage to kill somebody who's decrepified, unless you can actually lock down the Pugna. But now, in 7.31, they added Aura reduces enemies' spell damage by 25%. So the only way to deal with Pugna is now countered by his Nether Ward. And most of the time in the middle of the fight, if the team's already grouped up as 5 and you've plopped down that Nether Ward, it's very difficult for the opponent to deal with it. So you can basically just save people with Decrepify with virtually no downside to it because of the fact that Nether Ward negates the extra damage that they're taking. Also, guys, don't forget that you can Decrepify your own Pugna Ward. So if the opponent does try to focus the ward instead of you, you can actually save your own ward and make it impossible for them to hit it for the 4 seconds. So don't forget to utilize that as well. And so the next thing is that life drain. I think a lot of people misunderstand this skill. In the past, it was classically used in order to kill enemies. It was a damage ability. You use decrep, you life drain them, and they die. But now, what makes Pugna so broken as a support is that he's mainly used to life drain his opponents.
A dominating
Life drain his teammates, excuse me. Okay, so one of the most useful parts of life drain is that you can give your teammates mana. If your teammates are full HP, your life drain actually gives them mana. So in this case, we see DK, a lot of other like strength agi cores that have low mana pools that could really use the extra mana. Pugna has that added dimension to him. So we can go ahead and life drain our teammate and give him some mana as long as he's full HP, as you see here. He is taking damage from Roche, so it's a bit slower than it should be. But we can just give our DK mana. And at this point in the game, you want to have Etherlens, which you built mana boots into Etherlens, back into Tranquils, and that enables all of your skills to be casted, and then the Tranquils allow you to heal back up when you cast Life Drain. This game's a bit of a stomp, so I'm going to go and pull up my next game real quick just to like talk a little bit more about Pugna. Skill build-wise, we almost always max out the Nether Blast because it allows your hero to get a little bit of farm, it allows you to help take towers, it's your damage, and then you go back for the Nether Ward. I'd say Decrepify currently is a 1-value skill point that is mainly used as a save for yourself or for allies. So you're going to see a very similar skill item build in this game. I wanted to stick because I was against Coddle Sanking. They cast a lot of spells. But you see the similar idea. I have a bunch of stat items. Oh, here's a perfect example of Pugna's Nether Ward in action. 10% spell damage reduction. They're going to try to kill my Enchantress. And he barely lives because of it. That's the extra 10% damage reduction that this thing offers. And instead their mid's going to die. So pretty much what you see on Pugna in the mid game is that he's going to find lanes to rotate to and just blast the tower. So I actually managed to find it in this game around 4.5 as like a unique opportunity to pressure here. But like, if I'm Pugna and I just see an opportunity where one of my teammates is winning their lane, I'm just going to walk up and blast the tower because it's really efficient damage and you're one of the best tower takers early in the game. So you see that happening here, and then my team's grouping up at 9 minutes. Down here. My team's grouping up here, so we blast and take this tower too. And we just sit in the back blasting people. You know, the thing about Pugna is, he doesn't have a stun, he's not a playmaker. But the beauty of him is he does clear creep waves. So if you're in low MMRs and you feel like your teammates aren't really doing anything in the game, go clear some creep waves. You're pretty survivable. Buy yourself like a Glimmer Cape, keep yourself alive. But otherwise, if you feel like your teammates are walking down lanes and trying to take towers, you're one of the best supports that in the entire game. So I feel like there's a natural response for whether or not your teammates are playing correctly or whether or not they're not. That's why I think supports like this are super fun in pubs, because you can kind of do your own thing, but you're also super useful if your team ever decides to group up. So what makes Pugna so broken in these group up fights is the fact that he can just plop down this ward. So let's go ahead and fast forward to another fight. So what's beautiful about Pugna is because he's like Dazzle. He's basically a better version of Dazzle right now. Because instead of graving people, which is a purely defensive spell, you have a similarly defensive spell that can also be used offensively. But pretty much every game, if you don't focus the Pugna, he'll just decrep his teammate and keep them alive. So you're going to see that they're always going to try to cast spells on me. And I'm going to be able to reposition myself, and they have to stop hitting me, stop going on me, in order to kill my Pugna ward. It's exactly what makes this hero so strong in these fights. Once again, you're going to see here that they see a Pugna and they think they have to go on him because he's a Pugna. I plop the ward down. They try to burrow strike me. They rupture me again. And my team wipes them. Now, this is something you got to be careful of, because I'm allowed to be a little bit more aggressive in this game just because we're up by so much. But if you manage to make them overextend and catch you in the back if you're positioning very defensively, your team will almost always be able to turn because of the fact that Pugna ward's like half of your impact. So as long as it stays alive, or at least causes them to kill it, then you'll be very useful. So I know the 2 games I showed you guys are kind of stomps, but I don't think it's a coincidence that the games I'm playing Pugna, I'm winning my lane, because I talked about how strong of a laner he is. And then all of their tier 1 towers are gone. I played a game earlier today against a mid Pugna, and he killed all my tier 1 towers by 10 minutes. And in this game, he absolutely carried. So, like, mid-Pugna, you can go more of, like, a tanky build, where he went Ether Lens, Boots of Travel to farm, but then back into, like, Octarine. But overall, this hero has a lot of flexibility. It really is the combo of the fact that your Decrep was the only thing that was bad about him in terms of making your teammates take more damage to spells. And now, your Another Ward negates that. The biggest thing to be careful of when you're playing Pugna is that your Decrep can ruin ganks. Like, be very careful about using Decrepify. It prevents your teammates with right clicks, like a TA, for instance, that happened to me, from killing people. So be careful about that. But aside from that, I really do believe Pugna is one of the best heroes in Dota right now. It is getting drafted and competitive. And despite the fact that I don't think he's the best pub hero, he still has a 51% win rate. And because of the fact that he has an ability that griefs his teammates potentially, and he also has an ability that most people, I would argue, are probably using it incorrectly, if his win rate's still 51%, I have to assume that he would be even better if you guys are playing him with the kit that he's offering. So go and try it out now. Super fun support, honestly. I mean, it's fun to play any hero that's really strong in the meta. So thanks for watching, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, GG, whatever.